Welcome to another session of Master Domaining. My name is Gene Pimentel, and in this session we'll talk about how to determine the value of your domain name. There's hardly a day that goes by without someone asking me, how much is my domain worth? That question in itself shows a complete misunderstanding of the domain flipping business. The very first thing you need to understand about domain names is there are very few that can be proclaimed to be worth a particular dollar amount. In fact, the only domains that stand on their own, dollar-wise, are domains that are in the top 1 or 2%. If you asked any domain expert what a name like hotels.com is worth, they'd easily be able to tell you it's worth millions. In fact, the last time it sold for 11 million. Or a domain like diamond.com. It's easy for any domain expert to say that is also worth millions, 7.5 million to be exact. Or casino.com, or toys.com, or loans.com. Do you see a trend here? All these million-dollar domains have intrinsic value. The value is very obvious to most people. So what makes them so valuable? Well, first, they are all specific to industries with billions of dollars flowing through them. They're short, descriptive, and memorable as a domain name can be. Now, the other 99% of domains have values that are dependent on many factors that cannot be predetermined, and I'll explain that in a bit. My answer to the question, how much is my domain worth, is always the same. Your domain is worth exactly what you paid for it. Read that again, or listen to that again. The only scenario where your domain name is worth more than what you paid for it is when you find a buyer who wants or needs that exact domain name more than you do. Do you get that? A specific domain name is worth nothing more than the registration cost to most of the world. Let that sink in for a minute. But to one or two or a small handful of people, it may be worth thousands, or even tens of thousands, or maybe a few hundred. There are specific reasons for this. Your domain may match the exact name of their business or product, or your domain name can be used in a specific way to make them money or to bring in new customers for them, etc. The type of domains that most of us work with in the domain flipping business are those that have a very narrow and specific buyer pool. They're worth exactly what you paid for them until you're able to research and find the specific buyer who wants or needs the domain more than you do. So until you find a buyer that's more interested than you are, your domain is worth just what you paid for it, or the registration fee. Nobody can reliably estimate what your domains are worth without doing extensive research. They can only give an opinion based on their own experience. Now, does that mean you have to do extensive research with every domain you sell? Absolutely not. Remember, you can sell a domain name for any price that you determine reasonable. That doesn't mean there's a formula that tells you what it's worth or what you should sell it for. It just means that you, as the domain owner, can decide what you need to get for it to be profitable enough to you. Are you understanding that concept? Every domain name is a unique product in its own right. You can't price them all the same. There is no set formula that can determine the value. The amount you can sell it for is entirely up to you and the buyer. It doesn't matter what anyone else thinks it's worth. I routinely sell domain names for hundreds or thousands of dollars that others tell me are worth nothing. That's because I find a market first and register a domain that the specific market can benefit from. Now, there'll be much more discussion on this in future sessions. To get a very general feel of what the market will bear for a domain name, there are various websites that can give you a ballpark figure based on comparing your domain with others that have already sold. Tomorrow I'll give you a demonstration of how these appraisal sites work. The secret to successful domain flipping is your ability to match up the domain with someone who has a real need or desire. That is where the value lies and the only way price can be determined. In the next session, we'll go over some techniques that will help you to correctly price your domain names. So see you in the next session.